everyone, this is Mindy Egan for Lawnfawn, and today I'm creating this summertime scene on a mini slimline card using the treat cart. Now this is actually a recreation of a slimline card that I created during Inspiration Week. I had this really nice full scene and I wanted to send it down into a mini slimline card. So some of the products I'm using are the Cloudy Stencil, Grassy Hillside Stencil, the large mini slimline. I have Yappy Birthday, Wheelie Great Day, the Treat Cart stamp set, and then I do have Mr. Sun, but I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to fit it onto the card front. So I'm starting off with the largest die out of the large mini slimline, and I trimmed that out to give me that stitched border. I put a little bit of repositionable tape on the back to secure that down to my work surface, and then I can align my Grassy Hillside stencil. So I'm starting kind of about halfway on my mini slimline and I'm going to hold my stencil in place with some washi tape. And then I'm going to come in with a celery stick ink and a blending brush and start applying this lighter color. So initially I thought I would just have the lighter color towards the top, but I am going to blend the entire bottom portion of the stencil or bottom portion of the card front to give me just this light wash of color over that entire area. I want to create 3 different levels of grass to help kind of build my scene up. So I'm going to leave that stencil in place for now and bring in Jalapeno ink, which is a darker green. And this is going to add some contrast and help give me some definition between my different grassy areas. So just really lightly adding that darker shade of green. Once I have that there, I'm going to just peel up my stencil and then I'm going to shift it a little bit, bring it down, and then I can just secure that back down to my work surface. So by shifting the stencil, I'm getting just that different look of a grassy hillside. It's not all going to be the same layered look. Again, I'm going to bring in that jalapeno ink, add it just kind of right towards the top of the blades, leaving some of that light green there. Lift up the stencil again, shift it, and I'm going to add one more layer down towards the bottom, keeping in mind that I want to add a stamped sentiment in the bottom of my scene. So I'm going to bring that up just a little bit to give me that room towards the bottom, and then finish off again with that jalapeno ink, just very lightly bringing it down. So now as I remove the stencil, I have these really defined grassy areas. Now I cleaned off my stencil. I also cleaned off my work area so I don't have any of that green there. And I shifted the stencil down so I could mask off the green. Now I'm going to bring in a cloudy stencil. For this, I'm going to use merman ink. All of these are from Lawn Fawn. And I'm going to blend that over the cloudy stencil. For the stencil on this one, I move it quite often. I don't spend a lot of time ink blending over my clouds. So I'm not holding it down with any type of tape, I'm just using my hand. I added a little bit of that light blue right above the blades of grass, and then I can just shift my stencil, turn it, and add these cloudy layers. It's a little hard to see right now, but after I hold it up and kind of tilt it, you'll be able to see how it fills in the background, and it's just something nice and subtle to help create that scene or set the setting for my scene. To add a little bit more interest to my background, I like to bring in a white paint. Any type of white paint or acrylic paint will work for this. I bring a little bit to my work surface, add a drop of water, and then I can add the splatters to my background. Once I have enough splatter on there, I am going to pick this up and set it off on the side to dry and then just wipe up my work surface. I am working on a glass mat and I find a glass cleaner works really well for picking up splatter. Now I'm going to stamp my images. I have everything all laid out in my MISTI already, and I'm going to ink it up with the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, and I'm stamping it down onto Express It cardstock. I really like this cardstock to do my alcohol ink coloring because it is a slick surface and gives me a little bit more time to blend my colors before it really soaks into the cardstock. So the images from here are from the Treat Cart set. A lot of the images are from the Treat Cart, which is a brand new set for the summer release. I also have this Ferris wheel from Wheelie Great Day. And then I have those balloons, which is my favorite bunch of balloons, which is from the Yappy Birthday. I'm also going to be using a mix of markers. So these with the black barrel is the Olo markers. And then I'm also going to be bringing in my Copic markers because I do have my favorites that I like to use for certain color combinations. So I like to kind of mix the two together. I'm starting out with this teal. I believe this is BG 2.5, 2.4, and 2.3. I'm going to use it quite a few times throughout my images. So I did the Ferris wheel, I did one of my balloons, and then I am also using it for my treat cart. Now on the treat cart, I did dial it back just a little bit. I did BG 2.4, 2.3, and 2.1. For the top of my treat card, I'm bringing in this really nice bright pink. I haven't quite found a color combination in my Olo markers that really match this color combination just yet. And this is RV17, RV14, and RV13. I just really love how this pink color combination works with the teal. So I added that to my roof. I also added it to the bottom of my treat cart. I'm going to color in one of my balloons. For the balloons on each of the colors, I added the darker color all the way around the outside, came in with my mid-tone, and then used the lightest color for the center. I'm also going to use this pink color combination for the parts of my Ferris wheel, the individual, what are they, carriages on my Ferris wheel. So I used the three color combinations there. And then I will use the darkest shade to add that to as my cherry on top of my little ice cream sundae. And I'm also going to use this color combination for the banner because the banner I want to hang onto the front of my cart. And that pink is going to be a nice contrast to the teal blue. Now I have a yellow. For this, I am using Y18, Y15, and Y11. So I used that for one of my balloons. I also used it for the carriages on my Ferris wheel. I will also use it for my sign that's going to list all the goodies that are available for the treat cart. Now, if you're unsure about shading or where to put your darkest color, in my case, when all else fails, I will put the darkest color on the outside edges and have the center part be the lightest color. So that's just kind of my go-to if I'm really not sure where my shadows are going to be. For my bunny, since he is facing to the right, that to me is going to be where the lightest color or the lightest shade is going to be. So I put my darkest color on the left-hand side of the bunny. For the bunny, I did some warm grays, and I also have some cool grays just to change up that shading a little bit for the rest of my cart. This little piece down here, you probably can't even really tell where it is on my finished card project, but I thought these were nice fillers. It just kind of helps complete the scene. It's more tucked in the background, but I really like how it helps kind of complete that whole summer image of the treat cart. Now I have my adorable little brown bear that's going to be handing out the treats. I also use the brown for the legs on my treat stand sign, on my ice cream cone, and then also on my popsicle stick. I will also use this same color combination for my fudge because you just got to have fudge available when you have a treat cart. I brought an E53 in to make it a vanilla ice cream sundae. And then I'm going to bring in kind of a reddish pink. I'm going to turn this into a popsicle. I'm also kind of grabbing some of these markers and filling in that little itty bitty treat stand in the back. So I did like a purple popsicle, a red snow cone, and I think a pink ice cream. And then my other individual ice cream cone, I did mint, which some of these colors are going to vary versus my original card, but that's kind of the fun of it is I already did some of these in one color, so I wanted to change it up. And then I have my adorable little fox, which I couldn't remember the original colors I used. So here I used an E09, E08, and E99, and then brought in a little bit of warm gray for the face and the belly. I also used a little bit of that warm gray to fill in or shade the in-between stripes on the top of my tree cart. Now I brought in the coordinating dies. I held them in place with Post-it tape and run them through my die cut machine to die cut out all of the images. Now, before I go too far, I want to stamp my sentiment. I seem to always forget to stamp my sentiment, and because I already created this card, I knew that it was supposed to go towards the bottom. This kind of comes to bite me back later on because this is a smaller card size, and I actually have quite a bit of sky area open, but I was trying to be a little bit more mindful and get my sentiments stamped right away. I did "You're the Sweetest" down there in black ink towards the bottom, and I went ahead and created a card base. So with this mini slimline size, the front panel is 3 by 6. So I took a sheet of cardstock cut to 6 by 6. I scored it at 3 inches and then just reinforced that fold with my bone folder. Then I can take some tape runner, add it to the back of my card panel, and add this to the front of my card base. So now that my scene is pretty much ready, or my background is pretty much ready, I can start bringing in my pieces and laying everything out. And again, like I said, I'm kind of recreating my large slimline. So I knew about where I wanted things to be. It is going to be very key to have things hanging off the edge. It kind of gives the illusion that there's more going on than what you can really see. So I really like doing that. And especially with this smaller card size, I kind of had to do that to get everything to fit. So right now that Ferris wheel is just kind of hanging off the edge. I don't have it attached just yet. I went ahead and added my bear in there. There's also, I might have missed it, but there was that little cart that has the three ice cream thing, the three treats in it. I put behind the bear. So it does get kind of hidden, but I do find it is helpful to have it kind of go with the scene. Now that I have my cart built, I added the banner on the front, the fudge, I gave my bear a popsicle, so I could go ahead and adhere my Ferris wheel down, which I did with some liquid glue. I also have my little treats that my characters are going to hold, so the ice cream sundae and also that mint ice cream cone, and starting to place it. And this is where I realized I have a lot of room at the top. I really should have probably put the sentiment towards the top. That's what I get for trying to be ahead a little bit. Here I need to add my sentiments to that sign. So I'm just using a small acrylic block and the black licorice ink, and I can stamp that down so my friends all know what's available at the treat cart. So as of right now, the only thing really glued down is the Ferris wheel. The rest of my images are all going to get popped up with thin foam squares. So this is the treat cart, which part of it is going to hang off a little bit. So I'm not worried about that furthest left-hand side. And I'm having that overlap my Ferris wheel. I also added the thin foam squares to my sign. And then I will add it to the characters as well, which some of them are going to overlap the treat cart and also the sign. So I only need the foam squares towards the bottom. Then after everything is attached, I am going to flip this over and I'm going to trim off anything that is hanging off of the edge. So I was really at this point trying to figure out what I was going to do because I felt like the sky was almost too open at the top. It was not enough room for Mr. Sun, but it was almost too much for some of the smaller sun stamped images. So while I'm thinking, I went in and added white highlights to everything. And then I decided to be brave and I brought my card base back into my MISTI stamping tool. And I'm adding a sentiment at the top. So this is going to say, best friend. And then at the bottom, you're the sweetest. So it was just kind of a nice filler. I maybe could have added some butterflies or just maybe even a cloud up there at the top, but it was just almost too open for me compared to the rest of my scene. So that finishes up my mini slimline card. I will bring my original one back in. This is the large slimline that I created during Inspiration Week. I have Mr. Sun in there, and I also added a scalloped border, but I really love the mini slimline cards. I think they are such a fun, cute size, and you can still get a lot on these mini slimline cards. I hope you enjoyed today's inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again soon.